Hello, it's Don here at Antiques, Uniques, and Metaphysics, and we're at 700 West Broadway in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And I want to talk to you a few minutes about um, shamanic protection items and what they are and how you can go about making one for yourself. You've probably heard of dream catchers, and a dream catcher is essentially a shamanic protection item. Dream catchers are made to catch bad dreams or negative dreams. We might get those for ourselves or perhaps buy them for our children or friends, just to kind of keep them from having bad dreams or nightmares, that sort of thing. But protection items can be of a larger variety. And for example, we might feel assaulted a little bit emotionally or psychologically from friends or family members, maybe even a spouse, somebody at work. Maybe we're even going through just a particularly rough time and we feel like things are stacked against us in a particular way and that maybe we need protection, generally speaking, from sort of the karmic influences that might be imposing themselves upon us. So I'm going to go through the process of what you need to do to actually create a shamanic protection item. The first thing is the creation of it itself. And it should come from nature. You should find something out in nature that you would want to use for this. Now, it could be a willow branch or vines, it could be stones, feathers, bones, really whatever you can find from nature to create what it is that you're wanting to create. Now, sometimes we make these things to be more permanent, but you can also create something that's more temporary. Perhaps if you feel like you need, an extra strong boost of energy for protection for a few days, you might use stones and a particular stone of arrangement for that. So that the final product, and I'll just use sort of a dream catcher as one example, the final product might look, pretty nice, something like this, got some webbing. Again, there's a particular kind of willowy branch around here, some feathers hanging from it. It could be something like that. It could end up being something very simple. This is two vines that are just simply intertwined. Sort of a yin and a yang, you might say. There's sort of a darker vine and a lighter vine. And that's all there is to that one. And in a minute, I'll show you how you can use stones, again, to create a particular arrangement for protection as well. But using stones or items like that normally is a matter of sort of using it temporarily rather than more permanent. So you want to find something from nature and create some particular shape or design. It does not need to be, again, intricate or flashy. It can be simple, but that's a matter of what you feel like creating yourself. So when you have that artifact created, and it's possible that you can work in certain things, when shamans would use, instead of twine, they might use sinew or something like that, or leather strapping for tying. So there are things that you can use that seem to be a little bit more prepared, handmade in a preparatory way. But again, that's up to you. Once the item is created, though, what you need to do is cleanse it. It's step 2. And to cleanse an item, normally a shaman will use sage or sweetgrass. You could actually use incense if you like. When you use something like that, basically you light it on fire, blow out the fire, and then it smokes. There's normally a particular aroma. Quite often it's pleasant, like sweetgrass. Some of us like the smell of sage, I do. But again, it could even be incense. But the point there is to kind of put this item into a preparatory state. In other words, it's cleansed, clean, ready to go, ready to be used. The third thing that you do is you give it a particular intent. And that should be fairly specific. So who specifically is this for? What's the particular issue that they're encountering? Is it for your brother who's having a hard time with folks at work? Is it for your child who's maybe being bullied at school? Whatever it is, you should be pretty clear about what the intent is for. And you basically take the item and hold it and say, I want this item to be used to protect, let's say, my child from being bullied at school. Um, but again, there could be a number of reasons why you feel like you need protection of some sort against emotional and psychological and maybe even karmic influences. After you give it the particular intent, then what you want to do is align it with spirit. That's like plugging it in. I mean, spirit is the energy of the universe. It's the consciousness of the universe. It's the juice. So you've created this artifact, this item. So now you want to align it with spirit. And again, basically you would say something like, Spirit, please bring your energy and your will to this item in order for it to serve as protection, maybe for my child against particular individuals who may be bullying my child, or for my brother who's having a hard time with his wife's family, whatever it might be. So you're asking spirit to come in and align itself with this item for the purpose of it. And then finally, the last thing you do is locate it or place the item. Again, it might be something that you would hang on a wall, but it might be important where it's hung. Again, if it's for a particular person, you might say you want to hang this in your bedroom, maybe by the door before you leave each morning. You can see that item, or in your child's room, maybe above the bed. If it's stones, a temporary arrangement, or feathers, or whatever it might be, that might be on a table, beside where you sleep, or it could even be at your office, just kind of a neat, arrangement of items, on the office desk, perhaps. So you have to place it. Now, when it is being used, you want to get a feel for, is it being effective? Is this easing the problems? And what you don't want to do is forget about it. So you essentially enter into a kind of a relationship with it. You see it, you recognize it from time to time, you thank spirit for its use, and then also from time to time you would cleanse it. Now, quite often, if we're using an item for a specific reason, and if it is, if it's been successful, quite often what we will do is take the item and perhaps take it apart and return it to the earth. Much in the way that the Tibetan Buddhist monks will create a sand mandala, beautiful sand mandalas, and then eventually, after a week of creating these intricate designs out of sand, they'll sweep it up and return it to the earth. Take it to the nearest river, bless the people. So after it's served its purpose, a lot of times you want to return it. Now, if it's an ongoing thing, if it's something like, this is a situation to where, for as long as, the person works at this place, or as long as my child is in school with, these particular classmates, I want that item to be used. That's fine too. Just need to cleanse it every now and then. Again, take out the sage and cleanse it. Let me give you an idea, though, of just sort of a particular stone arrangement. And again, shamans normally use 11 stones. And they do that because 4 of the stones represent the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. The other four more represent the sub-cardinal directions. 2 of them represent what Carlos Castaneda referred to as the tonal and the novel. Immanuel Kant, famous philosopher, referred to the same thing as the phenomenal world and the noumenal world. It's essentially the world as we experience it, and then the world as it is in itself, or the world beyond the way we experience it, the mysterious realm. And that gets you to 10. And then the 11th is sort of represents the doorway between the two. So I'll show you just an example of using stones to create some sort of arrangement. You can take the stones and, you might feel like creating a pattern that is somewhat like a spiral. Right? You might feel like that works. As you're creating it, you can say, well, I don't think that stone should be there. We're going to start kind of with the smallest there, and then maybe I'm going to create it in a way to where I've got kind of color contrast going as we move it around in some particular way. Right? So have some sort of intent as you're working on this. It doesn't need to be a spiral. It could be just a large circle, right? And you might have a large circle with a piece in the middle, right? Something like that. And again, it's like if it seems unbalanced in some way or another, work with it until you feel like, that's a pretty good balance. The more you work with stones and particular items, the more you can kind of feel like, it can help you be creative. You might even arrange it almost like a person, like you might be thinking about a particular person and say, all right, I want this to be a protection advice for my child, and this is kind of what it's going to look like. Let's see here. We kind of get some arms and legs going, and there you go. It's going to actually just sort of represent the person. So, each time it can kind of be different. You just want to find something that works for you and your purpose of using it. So, if you have any questions, feel free to, leave comments, kind of let me know what you're thinking, any questions that you have. You can always come by the shop too, and I can talk to you about these things and maybe even help you design something. But anyway, that is the process that you would go through in order to create a shamanic protection item. So take care, and we'll see you next time.